What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Down Once More. I'm your host, Matt, and on this week's episode, I am going to be reviewing the new national tour, or North American tour, of Tina, the Tina Turner musical. It just launched the new tour in Lincoln, Nebraska this past Wednesday, October 8th, and I saw the second performance of it on Thursday the 9th. So they've been doing tech rehearsals in Lincoln for weeks leading up to that, prepping for it. And I'm going to give my thoughts on the pod, and then back half of the pod, I'm going to be reviewing All Time Low's new tour, their Everyone's Talking tour, and that a little bit, which I also attended this past week. So, and there will be a few random things thrown in there, but let's get into Tina. Second show in my Broadway series this year. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I did not grow up listening to Tina Turner. That just wasn't the musical genre my household listened to. I was raised listening to more religious Christian music. Talked about on the pod in the past. And then I started falling in love with like pop punk and then a whole bunch of different musical genres, but never kind of went back different decades and eras of musical music. And that never really grabbed me or stood out to me. Going into this, if you asked me what Tina Turner songs did I know, I would have said, "What's Love Got to Do with It?" Now, as the show went on, I learned what I did when I saw the Cher show a few years ago, that I knew more Tina Turner songs than I thought I did. Now, my knowledge on Tina Turner herself and her history still very low, and didn't really know much about her story going into this musical. So, what Tina is a jukebox musical made of Tina Turner's music, telling the story of her life. And it starts with her as young Anna Mae Bullock out in Nutbush, Tennessee. And as a child with a father who was abusive, beat her mom, and sometimes her and her sister, when he was a preacher. And then her mom and her sister leave her there with her, and her dad leaves, and she goes and lives with her grandma. And then her end up going to St. Louis as she's older, and then meeting Ike Turner, joining him in the Ike Turner Review, and then their tumultuous relationship and her kind of climb to fame, and then her kind of downfall after she left him, just kind of leaving, kind of trying to make her way in a tough industry, dealing with some sexism, some racism, all of those things, and dealing with having her kids that she's trying to raise, and being too old to break through as a solo artist in that day and age as well, and those struggles, and then her kind of resurgence as the queen of rock and roll, Tina Turner, and what she's most famously known for today, her solo stuff. I want to get a few things out of the way. Like I said, I didn't know much going into this, but everyone I've talked to afterwards, I'm like, hey, a lot more domestic violence than I was expecting. And they're like, well, yeah, it was about Tina Turner, obviously. So that was an unknown for me. But if you're not familiar with Tina Turner, a decent amount of domestic violence in this play. So if that's triggering for you, be forewarned. I'm going to give a shout out to some of the cast members of this before I talk about the show as a whole a little bit more. This stars Darylyn Bertley as Tina Turner, starting as teenage Anna Mae Bullock and then adult Tina Turner. And she was absolutely amazing. Did a fantastic job channeling Tina Turner and bringing her own energy to it as well. Just crazy impressive, especially for some of the things I feel like, especially these touring productions, now they use the video screens a lot for the background, the scenery, and the set. That's what works well for traveling national tours. There's not a lot of physical set pieces on the stage, which leads to there being scenes when there's maybe one fake door there, one couch, and then the cast on the stage. So their performance really has to carry it and kind of build the world that you are seeing. And I feel like there were times for me that I struggled with it. There are a lot of songs where it's just one, two, or two people on stage singing to each other, and a lot of blank space on there. But Darren Lynn Burtley's performance was powerful enough that it carried those scenes. It helped me get over that and focus on the show and the performers and what we're seeing. Other cast members, Monty Kane plays Ike Turner, and he does an amazing job portraying Ike and embodying that character, which is a bit of an asshole, if you didn't know, dealing with cocaine abuse and just being abusive, cheating, womanizing, all this stuff, and a little bit of gaslighting thrown in there, trying to show that he's good guy to public facing, but then ultimately having the string of jealousy as well. Now, I wanted to shout out those people, but now I'm going to jump back to Tina, the musical as a whole. This musical kind of came to be started back in 2016. There was a workshop, and Tina Turner was present, and her husband were actually executive producers of the show. Her husband, Erwin Bach, who's also portrayed in this musical. They were executive producers of this musical. There was a workshop in 2016, and then it premiered in April 2018 in London, and then made its debut on Broadway in November 2019. It had a run there. It was nominated for 12 Tony Awards after it premiered, and Adrienne Warren won Best Performance by a Leading Actress in a Musical for her performance as Tina Turner in the show. And then, like I said, this tour just kicked off. So for being the second performance of this tour, this cast, there were, like, I had no notes. There were no flaws. Sometimes I worry about some tech issues, them feeling out those things, cast getting used to each other and on stage. But these people are professionals. They were amazing, had powerful voices. Like I said, Darren Lynn Burtley's kind of stands out as her performance as Tina. She's the headliner. She is doing the majority of the singing herself and performing Tina's songs, and it was beautiful. And the numbers where they brought the ensemble into it were also really well done. My only kind of struggle with this musical has nothing to do with the quality of the show itself. It has to do with jukebox musicals on their own. I am so hit or miss when it comes to jukebox musicals. I actually really enjoy Moulin Rouge, the tour, because those songs are ones that are put together in new, unique ways that it doesn't feel like a concert. What I struggled with at times during this show is there are scenes where Tina is performing her songs as if she's performing at a concert, and it just feels weird to be sitting in an audience and there not being any energy that you are giving that performer back to feed off of. Like, that's what you want to do at a concert. And so there's parts of that that just feel a little bit awkward. And I have to give it to the performers because I felt awkward because I wanted to give them that energy back because they were doing such an amazing job and channeling this performance on stage that you kind of feel like you're at a concert, even though it's just like the empty stage around them and everything that's going on. Now, this is remedied a little bit, spoiler alert. After the final bows, they do a mini Tina concert where she comes out and it is performing and everyone's on their feet, and that felt good. That felt great. Like you were at a concert, you're giving the energy back. Everyone's cheering, people are singing along. It was a great time. I did 2 songs, close it out. The Nutbush City Limits and Proud Mary. And Proud Mary was one that I did actually already know too. I just didn't know that was the name of it, and that was performed by Tina Turner. But it was absolutely incredible, the energy. The finale is simply the best, and it is also performed like a concert. It's when Tina goes on stage at her then world record setting concert with 180,000 fans there in attendance and doing simply the best. There were some people in the front rows that were standing up, going back, because like I said, it feels like you're at a concert and it feels weird to stay sitting, but you're at a Broadway musical, right? So that's not a venue for audience participation. So that was the only thing that I struggle with some of these jukebox musicals. I had it a little bit with the Cher show. However, the Cher show was a little bit different because it had the framing device of Cher kind of guiding you through the different points of her life. So the different eras and timelines of Cher, and that she's talking to you as the audience, breaking the fourth wall, interacting, and kind of taking you through it. So the scenes seem a little bit more like vignettes than the straight through timeline. But the music was fantastic. Like I said, I hadn't been a big Tina Turner fan, didn't listen to her much before then. So a lot of these songs were new to me. Act 2 opens up with Private Dancer, and that song, just the journey that Daryl and Bertley took you on emotionally through that song, starting at the beginning. It's a lot more like one note and lower and a little mellow, and then as it builds through the song was amazing and one of my favorite performances of the night. Proud Mary, obviously fantastic, simply the best, amazing. What's Love Got to Do with It? Great. There are a few points in this one where it feels like we're kind of forcing a little bit the story around the songs, but I thought it was still brilliant, very well done, fantastic performances. Kay Bernice is also absolutely amazing as Anna Mae Bullock, so Tina Turner's mom, Zelma Bullock. She did a great job in that role. The costumes were wonderful for the time period and fitting, and they captured some of Tina's iconic looks, the hair, everything going on. The absolutely fantastic production overall. And kind of honoring the late great Tina Turner, who passed away in 2023. So it was really cool to see that. This tour is directed by Phillida Lloyd, and they did an amazing job. And I thought it was really well done. And I learned more about this rock and roll icon and legend. And so I thought that was really cool to see, like when she met Roger Davies, then went to UK and kind of reinvented herself and wanting to go more on the rock and roll route instead of kind of the joint act she'd been with Ike and Tina Turner, or trying to get her pushed into a box at that time because she didn't have the rights to the music she did with Ike Turner, because she didn't write them, even though she'd been performing them, making them famous, and talk about how she was kind of doing Vegas performances, or they wanted her to do like soul, R&B, that style of music, and she wanted to break through in rock and roll, some predominantly, and there was some struggle that she dealt with that's portrayed in the show with family or people back home for performing white music, and kind of them viewing it as abandoning her culture, and her tenets throughout this of trying to do the best for her kids and sacrifices that she made, and then trying to stay true to herself, I thought was really well done, and was a really great portrait of this powerful rock and roll icon, the queen of rock and roll. So shout out this entire crew. The tour is just kicking off. If you have a chance, go see Tina. I think it will be well worth your time. Performances amazing, costumes amazing, and that concert at the end, don't be a dick and leave after they do your bows because you want to beat traffic. Stay, enjoy the concert, honor these people on stage, have a great time with it. That's my thoughts on Tina. Now, a few random notes before I get into kind of the Everyone's Talking tour. So I went to it this past weekend. I traveled for it. I went up, it was on a Saturday, and decided to stay in the night in the city. It's in Omaha. Staying in there overnight, but Nebraska had a football game. I've talked about it a few times on here. I am a diehard Nebraska football fan. I make it a point to watch all the games as I can, group chat with my dad, brothers, talk about it regularly. So that's something that is important to me. I try not to miss on the weekends. The game for this week was announced at 2:30 start time. The all-time low Mayday Parade, the Cab, and the Paradox concert that I've been looking forward to for a long time started at 6. So thankfully, not too much overlap. So drove up to Omaha early, found a hotel by this courtyard where you could watch the game outside. Wonderful, great, fantastic. Problem was, the concert started at 6. General admission, standing room only. Problem with that, I'm too old to be doing that shit. Second problem is that I needed to head there when Nebraska was down 4 with like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And wow, like I said, I didn't want to miss the game. I also have been looking forward to this concert for a long time. I saw All Time Low probably 14 years ago, and it was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. I talked about it when I was a guest on Diary of a Swiftie pod. Just that energy, and it was so much fun, and just that music is so important to me, and just really stuck with me throughout my life. And so I just really have been wanting to see them again so badly. And this is the first time I've had the opportunity to in like 14 years without significant travel. So headed into the venue, I'm watching it on my phone. Right as the opening band, the Paradox, comes on stage, Nebraska sealed the win. We had scored a last-minute touchdown, which I missed because there was no cell signal in there, so it didn't load on my phone. So I was texting my brothers. I'm like, hey, you guys need to text me updates. I don't have reception. I don't know what is happening right now in this game because I didn't have a strong enough signal to watch it or the app to refresh. And so we sealed the game right as the Paradox came on. There were cheers. They looked a little confused because it was more like random, like, cheers right as they came on, and that's probably not what they're used to as much. And it was great. It kicked off one of the best concerts I've been to again. So All Time Lows keeping that crowd. But the entire show as a whole was absolutely amazing. It opened with the Paradox, who I wasn't familiar with before I started prepping for the show. Now, a lot of people like to be surprised going into concerts by the set list and what they're going to go on the journey of. That's not me. I am, especially with openers, I like to familiarize myself with their music before seeing them so I can fully enjoy the show, sing along, rock along, all the fun stuff, know the lyrics, and just have a good time and appreciate them more. I feel like while I can go off the vibes and the mood and the atmosphere, and I can still get into the music even if I don't know it as much, it's a lot easier if I know the song and I'm excited about it, to help give that energy back to the performers on stage. And so I started listening to the Paradox just a few weeks ago, started prepping for the concert, and really fell in love with their sound and their music, and their energy on stage was also amazing, and they were so much fun. And people, like, when they said it was their last song, people were genuinely disappointed and wanted them to keep going, and they won the crowd over, probably a lot of whom didn't really know of them before, and they were amazing. They got a new fan to me. They have one EP out and a few singles, so check them out. They're up and coming. They did a song with Travis Barker from Blink-182, so Travis Barker does stuff with a lot of people, but check out the Paradox. I do not think you will be disappointed. I really enjoy the entire EP, but Leave My Room, Do Me Like That, and Do It Again are probably my favorites from them. Amani was really good too. Next up was the Cab. Now, the Cab was also someone that I was not very familiar with. As I started listening to their music, I realized that I recognized Living Louder and Bad from their Symphony Soldier album. And so I recognize those songs, but their singer, it sounds like he should be in a boy band. His voice is just so smooth and like buttery that he sounds like he should be in a boy band. But this is their first tour in 10 years. They have a few albums under their belt. They just released a new one, an EP a week and a half ago, and have a full album coming out next year. They said, but it's their first new music in over 10 years, first tour in over 10 years. They had the energy on stage. They were getting the crowd going. It was also a great time. This was just a great put together show. Some fantastic pop punk music. Such a good time. So Cab, really good, fantastic. Next was Mayday Parade. Now, Mayday Parade is the band out of these that I have seen actually the most. I think I've seen Mayday Parade 4 times total before this. Always great live. The one thing about like Mayday Parade and All Time Low especially, it has been probably 6 to 10 years since I've seen them live. All Time Low has been significantly longer, but Mayday Parade, I think it was about 6 years ago that I saw them live. And they've released multiple albums since then. So your set list is going to evolve. So one of their most famous songs, and one of my favorite songs, Miserable at Best, almost always a staple of their tour. But that's not the vibe they're going for this tour. This is a pretty upbeat tour. And it was a lot of fun, and that showed through an All Time Low set list as well. But their energy, they did open with a brand new song that released like a week ago, Under My Sweater, which was really good. But I always think it's interesting when bands open with new songs that are like so new, because it can be harder to get a crowd into it with a song that they're not as familiar with. You're not going with the tried and true like banger that you know is going to get everyone going. But they went with that and then went quickly into Jersey, which is just amazing. And then like I'd Hate to Be You, when people find out the song is about you, from the era of very long song names. But just, they had a good smattering from all their different albums, and I really enjoyed it. They had a pretty small set. I was kind of surprised. They only had about 9 songs on their set, but it was a really good time, very well curated, so much fun. Always good. I always enjoy seeing Mayday Parade live, and they just like take the time of being like, hey, we recognize things can be like crazy right now, but we want to let you know, no matter what your religion is, no matter what your gender is, sexuality, we love you. We think you encourage you guys to do the same, like a really good like message of unity. And I always appreciate that too, when I think people are so divided these days and we're always focused on the differences. So when bands can use their platform and kind of call that out too, without getting like overly political or anything like that, just making it a message that no one should have a problem with. That's be nicer to each other. Don't be a dick. Love everyone, even if they're different from you. More people should listen to that. And I approve of that message. Then there was like a 30-minute break between Mayday Parade and All Time Low, which was a little long, but they were getting stuff set up on stage because it was a production. This tour, Everyone's Talking, is kind of curated and set up like they're a musical guest on a talk show. Alex comes out with an acoustic guitar, does almost like a cold open. The song is called Cold Open, introing it. And then the band comes out, opens with one of their new singles, Oh No, off their album Everyone's Talking, which this tour is for. But the album doesn't actually release until later this week. This episode drops on the 17th. And so then what went through was just classic All Time Low. There was less banter back and forth between Alex and Jack and Zach and Ryan and everyone. Ryan doesn't talk. He doesn't have a microphone. But Zach, Jack, and Alex, mainly Alex and Jack, going back and forth. Always great and a highlight of these live shows. This was less than the last time I saw them. But they've also released like 4 or 5 albums since the last time I saw them. So they've got a lot more music to get through. They played a lot of the classics. There were full albums that there were songs that they didn't play off those albums, but it was a near perfect set list. Even ones that aren't like regular listen tos for me. I really love the energy live and how they did it. I won't do full spoilers for the set list because some people do like to be surprised. But one that Alex said, he's like, we've never played this on a tour before, but it's one of my favorite songs, deep cuts off the album, is English Blood, American Heartache. And man, I had never really listened to that before I started prepping for this tour, and I absolutely love that song. Might be one of my favorites of theirs that they've put out in a long time. And the only other spoiler I'll do is that they play Hate This Song, the one that they released, the single they released with I Prevail. I think it might have been last year, but I absolutely love that song. And I was so excited to be able to see it live because I wasn't sure if they'd do it or not since they did with I Prevail. It has a little bit of a heavier vibe as well. So good. One of my favorites of theirs. Absolutely loved it. It was so cool seeing it live. On YouTube, I'll have some snippets of videos that I took in here, not with the sound, but to see it. It was on the floor. And that brings me to my next point. I am 33 years old. I am not in the best shape ever. Most concerts I go to these days are ones with seats or the option for seats. The venue this is at, it's like a medium-sized venue, Steelhouse in Omaha. Awesome venue, really cool setup, but everything's general admission. So you're all on the floor. So I was not prepared. Well, I was kind of prepared, but I thought my body would fight me less to stand for 4.5 hours straight. I was not. I was dead when we got back to the hotel. And the next morning, my back hurt, my knees hurt, my feet hurt. I felt like an old man at this concert. I have a week where I have 3 concerts coming up at the end of this month. Thankfully, though, those all have seats that I have the option to sit at. Now, this concert, I don't know that I would have sat. It would have been more like just sitting between sets, which when you're on the floor, you don't want to do that because you leave, the crowd fills in, you lose your spot. You have to either fight through and then be a little bit of an asshole or deal with that. But these are ones like I enjoy being in the mix for those. I like being among the people, having a good time, jumping, singing, dancing. It's great. And to look at my mic because I'm paranoid. There's been multiple times I've hit the mute button and then had to re-record entire episodes. It's bad. But we're good. So I loved being on the floor among everyone for the energy. Now, do you have the people who are not aware of their surroundings and courteous of those around them? Absolutely. Was there a girl in front of me that kept tossing her hair like this and I kept getting hit with her hair? You betcha. Did it ruin me having a good time? No. But people, got to be aware of your surroundings. Don't be a dick. I said that earlier. Don't be a dick. But ultimately, this tour just kicked off like a week ago. Unfortunately, the next night they played at Red Rocks, and apparently Alex, I saw they put out a post. He had woke up that morning feeling rough, and they cut the show short with vocal issues. He saw a specialist. It was like acute laryngitis or something like that, an infection, and they advised he go on vocal rest. So they actually canceled this week's shows so far. I think this weekend they're still hoping to make, but they had the Red Rocks one got called early, and then they were having one on the 14th that got canceled as well. So really feel for those fans and the band, because you tell All Time Low, I feel like they joke around. They go have back and forth. They don't take themselves too seriously on stage. They're making jokes about this. They said this is the best album that they've ever put out. They think so, and they're being honest about that. Alex said that. Jack's like, I think we've said that every album. And Alex is like, well, we're serious. He's like, yeah, everyone always says that, except you can always tell when there's some albums that are just shit. And that's the Get Out of the Contract album, where they have they owe one more to the label. They just put out a shit album to get out of the contract. Kind of funny, but this is their first one that they're putting out themselves on their own label. And they really care about the music and their fans. There was at one point during the show where someone, I don't know, I couldn't see everything that was going on. I don't know if it was a full pit going, like mosh pit going on, or if people were just like jumping and it was crowded and someone fell down. But Alex clocked it from stage, stopped the band in the middle of the song, waited for the space to like clear. He called attention to it, told people to give him room. Paramedic went out there. Everyone was okay. Waited till he got the thumbs up from everyone and reconvened. And like he gave another thing about, hey, you guys look out for each other. If something happens like that, you do what they did. You make space. You look out for those around you. Stop. Help make sure everyone gets back up. It was a really cool moment to see because like there's some bands that I think just don't give a fuck. They're there. They're going to play. They're going to be annoyed about their rhythm being thrown off maybe. But like Alex clocked it immediately, like stopped the song in the middle. Didn't wait till the song was over to then stop it. He immediately stopped it, called attention to it, got taken care of. And I think that's really cool to see from a group. And so, and there was one moment someone had a sign that said, Jack, draw my next tattoo. Alex called it out. He drew a tattoo and well, he said, okay, it's going to be a dick. And that's like the kind of just like the immature humor they get from it a little bit. But it's a good time. He drew a tattoo. Then there was a tattoo artist on the other side that sent their cards that they do the tattoo for free. He didn't just draw a dick. He drew a snowman, that had a cucumber for a dick, he said, but he drew a snowman. But it was a fun time. I was like so amped and energized afterwards. It brings me back to like high school and that music. Like you get some of the hits, like when Weightless and Damned If I Do You, Damned If I Don't are played, like that was my shit back in the day. That Nothing Personal album, one of my all-time favorite albums of all time. I just said all time multiple times there. But it was so good. So much fun. I'm so glad I got to see them again live. It's a really fun tour. If you have the chance, go out to it. I do not think you will regret it. It was amazing. This band is amazing. I hope I get to see them again soon. That's kind of my thoughts on the Everyone's Talking tour. Highlights for sure. All Time Low and The Paradox, Mayday Parade, amazing as always. Cab, surprisingly solid, and I'll probably be listening to some of their music a little bit more. The next day, I have to highlight this, went to a new breakfast spot. It's been there for a while, but I hadn't been there yet. The Table Coffee Company up in downtown Omaha, the Old Market area. We were at the table. I was wearing an Emo's Not Dead shirt that says "Work Sucks" on it. Good callback to All the Small Things, Blink-182. Every emo kid's one of their favorite songs, right? Gotta love All the Small Things. I lost my voice singing All the Small Things at a piano bar a few weeks ago. Well, All the Small Things, and then I Want It That Way. But also throwback to being younger. So I was wearing this shirt. We're sitting at the table. Our waiter comes up and just starts singing, "Work sucks. I know." And you would think that he would stop there. He did not. This man sang the rest of that chorus, that verse, the entire chorus, and they were getting looks from others at the table. I didn't know how to react to this because I was still exhausted. I slept like shit. I'm old. I sleep like shit when I don't have my purple pillow. And he's just standing there singing or just sitting there like, yeah. And I kept going. But it was so fun. It was funny. I had to laugh. It was one of the best waiters I've ever had. Took good care of you. Fun. A lot of energy for a Sunday morning, but such a good time. And I just had to laugh and chuckle at that story and share it with you on the podcast. I have this to talk into a microphone, so may as well share when I have something interesting happen, right? All right, so that's the 2 reviews we're doing on the pod. We'll wrap it up with a little bit of musical news. So Schmigadoon, the Apple TV Plus series that got canceled, like Keegan-Michael Key, Cecily Strong, lots of Broadway stars, Aaron Viet, Kristen Chenoweth. I really enjoyed the show. It sucks. They had a third season penned and planned and all laid out, but it got canceled. However, they are going to be opening a Schmigadoon musical on Broadway in April of 2026. So I will be intrigued by that. I also saw that the band Aqua announced they are working on like a jukebox musical with their music that will be opening in Switzerland in 2028. So some new musicals coming out. So stay tuned for those. Schmigadoon's closer on the horizon. I also saw reports today Playbill put out about the Broadway musicians, not guild, maybe it was guild. Them saying they may be going on strike in the next couple weeks and exercising their rights there. So that could be a whole thing and shake up some stuff on Broadway. But Jeremy Jordan's returning to The Great Gatsby on Broadway this November. So lots of things going on. Beetlejuice with Justin Collette as playing the title role of Beetlejuice, who I saw on tour and was absolutely amazing and one of the best musical performances I have seen ever. In a limited run, I think 15 weeks on Broadway. And so he's in there. People are mad. Trisha Paytas is going to be performing at a few weeks. They're not happy about that. That's a whole thing in the drama Broadway side that I don't get into as much. But Justin Collette is absolutely fantastic as Beetlejuice. I think now I didn't see Alex Brightman live, so I can't speak to that. But from videos I've seen, Justin Collette matches the energy, takes it to another level, and is so much fun. Breaking the fourth wall, some timely jokes thrown in there when I saw him on tour. I'm sure he's doing that on Broadway as well. Highly recommend it. It is a very fun musical. I have said, though, second act significantly worse for me than the first act. First act is the highlight of Beetlejuice, in my opinion. But set design, the sets go crazy in Act 2. But first act, amazing of Beetlejuice. Check out Justin Collette on Broadway. Check out Jeremy Jordan back on Gatsby in November. So my green light is amazing. Pass is catching up to me. Fantastic for her. Amazing. Great songs, great performances. Jeremy Jordan is amazing on the Broadway cast album. So jealous, kind of wish I could see him there live. But that's not in the cards right now because I have to fix a garage door that decided to shit the bed. And I am an adult. And you can't always get what you want, as the song says. So that's going to do it for this week's pod. Thank you all for joining. I've got some guests lined up coming up over the upcoming weeks. Not sure what exactly next week will look like yet. So stay tuned for that. Follow us on Instagram. All the fun stuff. At Down Once More Pod on Insta. At Down Once More Pod on YouTube, if you just want to do our little at the end of the YouTube URL. Subscribe, follow, Down Once More Pod, all audio platforms. Thank you to new subscribers who have been downloading the audio versions. That's what I can see reflected, so thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you to the new YouTube subscribers as well. Tell your friends, tell your family, sign up, come on board. The water's great. Nope, you can't come on board because the water's great. If the water's great, you wouldn't want to stay in the water, not come on board. This is why I don't record podcasts late at night when I have work the next day. Thank you all. Love you. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. This is my long rambling conclusion. Don't forget to go down once more. Later.